welcome to the Ronel Talks Money show. Now, today I have a very exciting topic and a very exciting guest with me. And today we're all going to talk about Forex trading. Now, I have Ruan Mc Donald from the Stock Market College with me today, and I'm really excited to talk to Ruan and ask Ruan to tell us more about what they do and also to explain Forex to us and what you need to know if you are interested in investing or starting with Forex trading. So Ruan, welcome and thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Ronel. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it. It's lovely to spend some time and speak about the dreaded, in some cases, topic. Let's get the wheels going.
Yeah, no, it is definitely, it's a very complicated for a lot of people, and that's why I'm excited to have you on the show so that we can simplify it a little bit.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, Ruan, you can maybe start off and just tell me a little bit more about Stock Market College. What are you guys doing? What can you offer the people out there?
Okay. I think it started back in 2002, Ronel, when we registered the Stock Market College. The Stock Market College exists purely on the basis of people that are not, how should we put it, satisfied with the returns that they get on modern day investments. People that feel that there's more out there. Most people have this feeling, and then it sort of stops in its trail because people have a lack of knowledge when it comes to finances, the financial world, financial products. People don't know who to trust or where to go, where to seek advice. So education, we have found, seems to be the tool that you have to obtain before you can start making these decisions and moving forward. So on that basis, Stock Market College started for the first time in 2002. And in 2002, when we started much smaller than what we are today. Today, we own many branches in South Africa. Our head offices are based in Woodmead. We've got international branches. And the main focus and aim of this business and company is educating the person in the street and on how to work with his money on financial markets. I think the big reason for the success of the business and for the growth of the business is the way that we educate. We still believe in physical education, seeing you, hearing you, teaching you person to person, face to face. We found that it makes quite a rapid difference in anyone's level of understanding. And anyone can do this. That's the best part about learning. Anyone can do this as long as you put in a little bit of effort and you've got the right tools and you surround yourself with the right people. It's a fun journey.
Okay, Ruan, that sounds really great, and I think it's awesome now that you're saying that you are actually focusing on educating people, because it can be quite a complicated and daunting journey for a lot of people. But we also know there are a lot of scams out there, and people sometimes, offer the world or promise the world to people, and they start investing or start trading, and then they realize it's not what they are or what they have expected. So how do you know when you want to start trading that you are working with the real deal? You are working with people who are legitimate.
Okay, it's a wonderful question. I think it's a question that's on most people's minds, specifically when considering, should I actively trade with my money on the stock exchange, or should I just pass it on to a registered broker? Unfortunately, the volatility, which relates to the lucrativity of a market. So in other words, a lot of participants, a lot of movements, and a lot of money attracts a lot of investors. Unfortunately, in the same breath, it attracts a lot of opportunists, and now I'm speaking of in scamsters. So over the years, it's not unknown that many people or companies have taken the lucrativity of financial markets and turned it into an unlegitimate business. I think the starting blocks for anyone that considers, participating on financial markets would be start with the Financial Services Conduct Authority of South Africa, or as people know today, the Financial Services, the FSCA, the old FSB. Any financial company that's worth its salt would be registered with the Financial Services Conduct Authority of South Africa. Platforms like Hello Peter are always also a good reference to go to and to do a little bit of background checks on any company. But the big difference comes with, for me personally, I don't know how most investors would feel about this, but I still enjoy getting in my car, driving to the place, speaking to the people, meeting the people, taking someone's hand, putting it in my hand, and knowing that I'm speaking to someone that's here, that I can have contact with, that I can build a relationship with. I think that's one of the biggest assets or positive points that we have in the business. We are spread all throughout South Africa. Like mentioned, our head offices are here in Woodmead. I do want to just make something clear here. We own two businesses. We own the Stock Market College, which is an educational firm, educational company where we run a program with people. We teach people to trade financial markets. Then we have Quick Trade. Quick Trade is our brokerage firm that we refer our students to, and the brokerage firm that would supply the person with the necessary tools for him or her to trade with. Now, Quick Trade is the financial services provider with FSP license 45262 that potential clients could check out with the FSCA. Stock Market College, however, is not a financial services provider. It's an educational firm. We've had it before where people would go to the FSCA and they would say, hey, I'm considering taking up education with Stock Market College. And they would come back to us and say, you guys are not registered with the FSCA. And we'd have to explain to people it's because it's an educational firm. Quick Trade is the FSP. So just so that people know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So to bring it back down to a single sentence, check with the Financial Services Conduct Authority. Make sure that these people are licensed, registered, legitimate.
Okay, no, I think that is definitely something that people need to make a note of. Check for these things before you start your journey with anybody. But Ruan, you've mentioned now that even though these concepts sound difficult and complicated, anybody can actually do it. So how would somebody actually start off if you don't know anything about Forex and you want to get into it? How do you start?
I think to keep it as simple and as short as possible, let me make use of an example. If I've been driving a motor vehicle for the past 10 years, and never in my life have I driven a motorcycle, and I feel it's time to drive a motorcycle, I'm not just going to go to the shop and buy myself a motorcycle and try and get on it and get going. I'm going to learn first. I'm first going to start with the basics. I'm going to have a good educator with good material, and I'm going to put in a little bit of effort and understand and learn how to use the product. I think anything in life works exactly the same way. So what is important is education is key to anything in life. We can speak about different occupations, different businesses or products, or just about anything. It all started with learning. So anyone, and I repeat, anyone, any age, above 18, please. Any gender, any race, anybody, any level of intelligence can trade financial markets. But what is imperative, what's very important is to start with education. Start educating yourself. Have someone that can teach you, and have material, good material, credit-worthy material, and start with the basics, step by step, work your way up.
Okay, Ruan, if you have convinced me now, Stock Market Trading College is the place for me. I'm keen on starting with Forex trading, and I want to do the courses. how long does it typically take for somebody from you start off with doing your educational courses up until the point where you are comfortable to start trading on your own?
I'm so glad that you asked the question. It's a question that sits on many people's lips. It's a wonderful question. So one of the best parts about the program that we run is that we run it completely at your pace. You determine the pace. It's important to look at it from a business point of view. We cater to anybody that's willing to learn. What we have to take in consideration is that people are busy. People either run a business or people have a 9 to 5 salary, jobs that they're running throughout the day, and we cater to these people. So in order to cater for these people, it makes it quite difficult if you have to follow a strict schedule Monday to Friday, school. It doesn't work for the average person. And I guess we've had the opportunity and the privilege of working with enough people in the past, trialing and error enough to see what works and what does not work. What we have found is that when people are in a comfortable position where they can maintain their current schedule and include us in their schedule and make it mold with their schedule, doing it at their own time and pace, then it really works well. So I guess it comes down to what is the client's schedule like. We do see on average, the average person, busy person, would take about 4 months, 3 to 4 months before working his or her way through the variety of classes, exercises, and material that we offer our clients. But in some cases, we've had clients that goes through it in 2 months. So if you're fully dedicated, you've got an open schedule, you can pretty much knock it out in 2 months. I'd even be as enthusiastic and say 6 weeks. But for the average person, current busy schedule, you can budget on about 3-4 months working your way through the material. We do, however, give you access to all of our resources for the period of 36 months, for the person that works a little bit slower or someone that wants to revise or go through the course again so that, there's enough, you're comfortable all the way through.
Okay. And then do you need a lot of money to start off with?
Another excellent question. I think there's a certain stigma or understanding when it comes to financial markets, offshore trading, Forex, commodities and shares. When people hear the word, they immediately relate it to funds, big funds, and that's absolutely not the case. In fact, we have the average person that opens up an account and funds an account with QuickTrade would fund the account with between, I'd say, 2,000 and 5,000 Rand. The higher funder would go up to about starting off with 20, anywhere between 20 and 100,000 Rands. The elite would go up 100 plus, million plus. But coming back to the average man in the street, that's just testing the waters at first, funding your account with about between 2, 3, and 5,000 bucks. That's going to already make a big difference. So it's absolutely it's not just for rich people, or you don't need a lot of money to start. What you need to start is number one, a decision. That's very important. And number two, teaching, education. But actively trading on financial markets, big funds is absolutely not a requirement. We can get into a bit more detail a little bit later. I'd be happy to discuss that. But to answer that question, absolutely no. Anyone can start trading with any amount of money. Please don't start with 2 Rand. It's not going to get you very far. But I think I've made that point.
I think that's actually good news, because I think a lot of people, they are delaying their financial wellness journey because they believe they are not there yet. And they should actually realize that you do not need like millions to start investing or to start trading. You just need to start. That is almost the most important thing, and you can build up. I always say start small, but start educating yourself. And obviously, the more you educate yourself, the more you will also be able to manage your risk, and then you are more comfortable as you grow start with bigger amounts. So that is good news. But that also brings me to the next question. If you want to trade now, how much time is involved in actual trading? Because I think a lot of people also think, I just put my money there and then I forget about it. So how much time do you really need if you want to actively trade and obviously make good money from it?
Another good question, Ronel. I think let's narrow it down to the two different ways of investing. Obviously, there's a variety of financial products out there. You can put your money in a controlled fund or a trust or some financial product, and the financial company or the firm or the brokerage, they would then, go on about investing the money for you. You would usually expect an annual return, 5 or 6 or 7 or so percentage return per annum over 12 months. And then on the flip side of it, there's active trading, what we specialize in, where people have control over their own money. They are connected directly to financial markets, and it's now up to them to do the transactions by themselves. So coming back to how much time would it take to actively trade financial markets, I think we can link it to the level of knowledge and experience that a trader would have. A novice trader would obviously have to spend a little bit more time. An experienced trader would already have a fairly good understanding of the market, understand where opportunities are, expect what to expect, and they would spend structured lesser time daily. For the person that starts off for the very first time, you are going to have a combination of two things: the actual trading and education, or being mentoring, if so. I think with the combination of a bit of mentoring and a little bit of trading in a day, I think 30 minutes a day is a fair amount of time for a novice trader to start with. If you can make that a routine, if you can make it a religious routine, you should be out of the blocks in a couple of months. It should then become part of your lifestyle. And then as the experience and the knowledge grows, the time would become lesser.
And I think the good news about that is I think everybody spends 30 minutes scrolling through Facebook and Instagram. And if you can maybe just allocate that 30 minutes
Absolutely.
to your trading portfolio, that can make a world of difference for you financially.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny that you mention it. If we think back to a couple of years ago, 10, 15 maybe years ago, if we remember growing up in a household where your parents religiously 7 o'clock in the evening sit in front of the television and watch the news for half an hour, and that's their daily update on what's going on in the world. I think it becomes more or less the same thing, except now it makes you money. So if you can religiously do that, you don't have to substitute it with your time that you spend on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or whatever the case might be. I'm just saying, there's if you can spend the time making money for yourself and it's equally as interesting, why not?
Yeah,
But
no,
very valid point.
absolutely. But Ruan, we've already discussed a couple of things now, but maybe we should just basically take one step backwards and just say, to really explain Forex trading in layman's terms for the man on the street who is not too sure, what does it really mean, Forex trading? So maybe, we hear all these words about signals and pairs and bid price and all of these, but what does Forex trading actually mean?
Okay. Wonderful question. I'm going to try and give you the long explanation in the shortest possible time. So there are usually three big sectors that active traders trade on financial markets. One of them is Forex, the other one would be shares, and commodities would be the other. So if we focus on Forex to start off with, let's use an example. Let's say in January this year, I decided I'm going to America, I'm going on vacation. I've booked my dates, I've booked my air tickets, I've booked my accommodation, I'm all excited. Now I need to have some spending money. I waltz into the bank middle of January and I tell them, listen, I need some spending money. I'm going to need $1,000 US. Back then, the exchange rate was a little bit different than what it was now. And you would have paid around 14 rands for a dollar. If I wanted $1,000 US, I would have to pay the bank 14,000 rand to get $1,000 US. And at the end of March, coronavirus, lockdown, there goes my vacation, and I cancel all my plans, and I'm sitting with $1,000 US. I go back to the bank. I tell them, you know what, I have no use for this $1,000 anymore. I'd like to give it back and have my rands back. Now, at that time, the exchange rate has changed considerably, and now we pay 18 rands for a dollar. And so I give back my $1,000 US to the bank, and to my surprise, the bank gives me 18,000 rand. I've mistakenly, not on purpose, made money here. I've made 4,000 rand profit. Why? Because of a time difference and exchange rate that changes all the time. There are many currencies all over the world, currencies driven by political influences, bringing it back down to layman's term. Leaders making announcements and speeches, and that determines the exchange rate and the changes and all that. And it's a whole world by itself. And if you manage to obtain the skill of understanding what influences what, and you buy the correct currency at the right time and you sell it at the right time, you make a lot of profit. I think that would give us a good understanding of what is Forex trading.
I absolutely love that example. It actually simplifies it and it makes it so simple for anybody to understand. But yeah, what would you say is the biggest benefit of Forex trading for the South African person specifically?
Okay. I think there's a few factors, that has made us more aware and more concerned as time has gone by. I'm not going to get into too much detail on inflation and taxation and all these things. I just think it's crucially important for every earning South African to have more than one source of income. Something to fall back on, a go-to if there's a retrenchment or a salary cut or an unexpected event. The biggest benefit that I personally, as a South African, economically active South African, experience with Forex trading is I get to live in this beautiful country. I mean, I've traveled to many countries, and I'm always very excited if I get on the plane back home. I love the country. I don't think I'd ever leave the country. But economically, I've got my doubts. So it's very nice to live in this country, but to make my money from all over the world. I think that's one of the biggest benefits that an active trader would have.
Yeah, so I think it's that of you can actually earn other currencies, and you can almost, you don't have to really feel the impact of the rand weakening, because you can now almost use the rand weakening to your benefit.
In your favor, yes, absolutely. That's the exciting part.
Yeah, I mean that is just, because I think a lot of people also concerned about the rand weakening all the time and the economy struggling, but here you really have that opportunity to almost kind of like minimize that impact and really become part of the global world out there and benefit from something much bigger than what we experience just here.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I mean, it's an industry or a market that would, I'm being bold here, but that would never fade. Countries would always carry on doing business with each other. Currency will always be there. It's a market that I can depend on. Yeah. It's an income that I can depend on if I have the skill.
Hmm. But Ruan, I mean, Forex is something that is considered to be high risk, and I think people should know and be aware of that you can make a lot of money and you can also lose a lot of money. So this is not kind of quick get rich quick kind of scheme of and we've discussed it before we started with this show that people should not think they are, you know, heavily having a lot of debt and now they're going to start trading and now all of the financial concerns and financial difficulties, something of the past, they're just going to make lots of money. I think that that is something that people should realize. There is also a risk of losing a lot of money. And I think like in one of the things that we have discussed to minimize that risk is to educate yourself, because the more education you have and the more knowledge you have, the more informed decisions you can obviously make. But you can maybe just touch on that again in terms of how important is education to minimize your risk. But what other things are there that can help you to minimize your risk when you are trading Forex?
Wonderful question. Let's start with the comment. There's a lot of people that make money, a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that lose money. In my time in the financial world, I've seen both sides. I've experienced both sides numerously. I call them cowboys and educated cowboys. So yes, it's a very well-known fact that there's a lot of people that loses money on financial markets, and if there's something to blame, it's going to be the level of education. It's basically it's taking a chance. It's gambling. I don't believe in gambling. I don't think of gambling being consistent, nor it being an answer. So coming back to education, absolutely understanding what you are dealing with, understanding when to do what, and understanding when enough is enough. You know, those things make a huge difference in your career or in your time spending on financial markets. Now, part of our program, one of the modules that we have in our program, risk management, is extremely important and it's extremely powerful. It goes accompanied by understanding and knowing how to work with your emotions. Believe me, emotions is something that comes to the table when trading with your own money on financial markets. You know, finding that point, controlling it, understanding when to do what, and also then the tools, being educated on the tools that you use in order to prevent or to manage and to minimize risk. Once again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, just for the fact that the person watching this might not understand what I'm speaking about. But I could be contacted afterwards by the greatest pleasure, and I'll discuss this in detail. There are products that we use on the platform and the accounts when we trade financial markets that protect capital at a certain limit. So before going into a trade, and I think this is very important, before going into a trade, you're always aware of what the possible risk is. There's no surprise. Before doing the risk, you understand, or before doing the trade, you would understand that this is my calculated, limited risk. There's automatic products on my trading account and platform that will protect my capital if it gets to a certain point. And otherwise, you know, in the right direction, I'm going to make my profit for the day. So it's a good combination of tools and emotions, which all is only possible to use successfully with the right level of education. So as you said, it comes down to being educated again.
Yeah, and absolutely control your emotions as well, you know, not making decisions based on emotions, you know, have the facts in mind.
Absolutely correct. And on the point of emotions, we found that it works so much better. You know, you don't have to do everything by yourself alone. Then your emotions could really bug you around. But if you're surrounded with people that's on an equal mission, that's equally invested, with the right resources and tools, it makes it so much easier to delegate the emotions and
Yeah.
to do it properly and follow a recipe, which
And
also, minimizes risk.
yeah, and Ruan, what has an impact on forex trading? If you think about things like politics, interest rates, all those kind of things, what are the things that people should kind of consider or keep in mind that can impact on their experience?
Ever heard the saying, money makes the world go round? So I think on that point, everything that has to do with money has to do with fluctuations in currency rates. Mainly, it boils down to big banks, reserve banks. It boils down to economic leaders, presidents, queens, kings, what have you, ministers. And it boils down to decisions that people in higher chairs make. The decisions that people make at a certain point in time for the time going forward would determine the direction that the market would move in. Now, sometimes you have financial analysts that would analyze this before it happens, and they would give an assumption, and they would measure the assumption with what actually happens in the financial markets. If it's a shock, if it goes the other way, as it was assumed, you have a lot of volatility. Let me just put it that way. If it goes according to plan, the market moves, continues in the same direction as it would. So decisions, big players, reserve banks, political parties, ministers, those things would be what impacts and influences moves in financial markets. And that it becomes so very, very interesting if you start understanding this and putting the dots together, understanding what these people look at when they determine or when they predetermine decisions. It becomes intriguing. The best part about it is the better you understand it, the better money it makes you.
And we've discussed now things like education, having the right tools, dealing with the right people, controlling your emotions. Those are things that will make you successful as a trader. But what else are things that can help you to be successful?
Well, it's a good question, Ronel. I think with education being absolute top priority, you'll have to have a few tools, basic tools, a good internet connection, a device to work on, a cell phone or a laptop or a tablet of some sort, and support. Support is always very necessary. If you speak to anyone that has traded before, anyone that's currently trading, and you would have a conversation with them, you'd ask them the single question, what would make you trade better? They'll tell you better knowledge and better support. I don't specifically think it's something that is meant to be done alone individually. I think it's a form of business that's meant to be done together with various people taking care of various responsibilities and duties. So if I have someone that could help give me advice on my trade, if I have someone that could help make certain suggestions, someone that could watch the news for me, let me know of certain things that's about to happen or that has happened. If I'm part of a community, I think that's the word I'm looking for. If I'm part of a community, that makes it a lot better. Good education, be part of a community, and basic tools.
Okay, awesome. And then, Ruan, what are the different trading strategies that somebody should consider or know about?
There's a variety of strategies, and I think what's important to understand about strategies is they keep on developing as times develop. I mean, if we think about it practically, our world, our economic world, is not the same as 15 or 20 or 30 or 50 years ago. So as times adapt, strategies adapt. Now, before I go into detail on, names and the variety of strategies that exist, the inexperienced person that's considering trading should ask him or herself the question, what sort of trader am I? Am I a person that would prefer to invest long term? Would I be the person that would prefer to invest medium term? Would I be the person that would prefer to invest short term? And what I mean by that is the duration of your transactions. Would you find joy in doing transactions daily, doing daily trades? Would you find joy in doing transactions over 2-3 months, over a year or 2 or 3 or 10? That's going to determine the strategy that you follow, if that makes any sense.
Mm. So it absolutely comes back to similar than what we would say in terms of investing, are you like more conservative, or are you more aggressive?
Mm.
So you first of need, or basically needs to understand almost what's your kind of profile and what kind of risk are you comfortable with, and also kind of how much time you want to spend on this. And then based on that, you will almost decide on what strategy will suit you best.
Absolutely, and I think that's always a good thing for an investor to make use of multiple strategies. I, for one, make my money from financial markets. If I don't do frequent trades, then my money runs out. So what's important to maintain is a balanced strategy where I have short-term trades running, I've got medium trades running, and I've got my long-term fixed investments. But once again, those things start developing. The better you understand it, the more you learn about the industry and this whole world. Always advised, to have more than one or a good, fairly balanced combination of strategies.
And Ruan, I think what I see with a lot of people, especially in the investment world, is that people tend to quote gross returns, and then the return sounds wonderful and people jump at this opportunity. And then once they realize what's the fees and the taxes and everything that's coming off there, then they realize that investment wasn't that attractive at all. But how does it work in terms of Forex when we think about fees and taxes?
That's a very good question. We've got a part of our educational program teaches our average person or trader how to go about working around taxes. What's important to understand as well, the money is sitting in your trading account. Your trading account is linked to your personal bank account. You can draw money from your personal trading account to your bank account anytime. The money is liquid. But while the money sits in a trading account, it's not taxable yet because it's argued as it's still in the market. Once the money gets drawn into or withdrawn into the bank account, then the money would become taxable, and it's going to depend on the person's personal profile. That's going to determine the taxation that they'll have to pay on it. You can pay it, or you can declare your taxation biannually. That works quite well. We teach you the different methods, and we give you a good understanding of how that works. But it comes down to the person's personal profile on how much would they pay, what percentage would they pay, when would they pay, those sort of things. As long as you understand that the money is taxable once it goes into your bank account. Yes, and then I think once you understand that, the rest is falls into place better. But once again, teaching the person that understanding when to do what and when to declare what and where to go and where to get answers from, that's where it starts working well. When it comes to the fees that we pay on investments, a fixed investment works much differently from an active short-term investment. When you would do a transaction on financial markets, whether be it a Forex trade, whether be it a commodity or a stock trade, you would pay a fee or a percentage as a brokerage fee for the transaction once the order goes live. Once you would close the order again and bank your profit, you'll pay another fee. So think of a transaction fee. If you go to FNB today and you would open up a bank account with them and you would start transacting and doing EFTs and swiping your card, for every transaction you do, there's a fee that you pay the bank for. It's part in playing the role. A brokerage firm works very similar. So you would do a trade, and for doing the trade, you'd pay a fee. For closing the trade, you would pay another fee. And that's all that goes into that. There's no maintenance fees or royalties or anything like that. You pay transaction fees as an active trader, and that's as simple as it is.
And the fees, are they kind of fixed fees, or would it be kind of almost similar than a performance fee? Or
it's a very good question. It's a fixed percentage. So in other words, let's for argument's sake say it's 0.5%. Then if I would do a transaction with 100,000 Rand, 1% would be 1,000 Rand, 0.5% of that would be 500 Rand. I would do a transaction of 100,000 Rand and I'd pay 500 Rand for my transaction fee. Alternatively, if I do a trade worth 100 Rand, I'm going to pay 50 cents for the fee. So the fee will increase as your volume of the size of your trade increases, but it's a fixed percentage.
Okay. And then if you want to get involved in trading, but you either feel you are not really comfortable doing it yourself, or you don't have the time to, actively spend that 50 minutes a day to go through it and do it yourself, what are the options available to you?
Ronel, it's a good question. People ask me the question frequently. I think a good comment to make here to start off with is not everyone is willing to learn and willing to put in the effort to manage and maintain their own portfolio. So the average either inexperienced person or person that feels this way would then go to a brokerage firm that would do investments on their behalf. Always, please, very important, check with the FSCA whether these people are above board and whether it ticks the criteria. But the sad and unfortunate part about that is you can then expect an average 5, 6, 7, 8, depending percent return per annum. The very reason why in the beginning you considered to start trading. So going in and forth, giving your money to someone to do it for you, it's important to keep in mind nothing in this world is for free. Nobody's going to do anything for free or, for the sake of being a good person or company. The companies and people need income. That's how they survive. They don't do things for free. And, if you don't want to invest the effort or time into learning and understanding and doing it yourself, then that is the route that you'll have to follow, making use of a financial product that's going to earn you between, I'd say, about 5 and maybe 13% as it stands, depending on how aggressively you want to invest. Alternatively, if you make the decision that you've been doing that now for 20 or what odd years and it's not really satisfying you, you feel that there's more out there, then you can go our route, get some education, and you can learn and understand doing it yourself. And then when it's in your control and you put in just a little bit of effort, have good education, decent basic tools, surround yourself with a community on an equal mission, then you can expect much better than that.
Okay, Ruan, then last question. I think we have touched at the beginning a bit about it's all about creating multiple income sources, and this is an excellent way that you can actually add an additional income source to your portfolio. But just to end off, and you now need to almost convince somebody out there, why would I want to get into Forex trading?
Well, I would ask the person the question if they're happy financially where they are. If they Look, I think about it this way. We all get born into this world exactly the same way. The experiences we have, the life we live, that's up to us. If you choose to live the mediocre life, doing the average, living the average life of, I'd say, the average person, it's a decision that makes you happy. It's fair enough. But if you're looking for better, um, who would you trust with your money better, me or you? You trust yourself better with your own money, am I right? Ever heard the saying, if you want something done, do it yourself? I'm leaning more towards that way. And if life is about having fun, having experiences, working hard and feeling proud and living the life that you deserve to live, no one else is going to give it to you. There's nothing that you can buy from a shelf that's just going to transform your life into it. You'd be willing, if you are willing to, to have a little bit of fun, try something new, and reap the equal financial reward, then jump onto our course, get the education, run our program, start trading financial markets. That's the way that you're going to do it.
Ruanda, I love that response, and I think that is always because people would always say, but money doesn't make you happy, and I agree to that, to a certain extent, but I also say that money is an enabler. Money can help you to create that lifestyle that you dream about, and that, if you want to go travel, if you want to create a better life for your family, if you want to buy that snazzy new German sports car, or you want to just know you have peace of mind that you can retire comfortably one day, so it's all those kind of things. That's kind of like, what's your goal or your dream or your bigger purpose in life? And then you would realize that in 99% of the cases, money plays a vital role getting you from where you are currently to where you want to be in life. And I think this is just giving you another tool or another opportunity to help you to create that lifestyle that you dream about. But again, it's all about educating yourself, making good decisions before you jump into this, because it's also not, like we've said, it's not something that everybody will like or will be satisfied with. It all depends on what kind of person you are, what do you like, what do you prefer. You could find that you are maybe much more comfortable with having your kind of bank account and all your savings in your bank account, and then that is also good. But if you want to, try something different, try something that can potentially provide you with a very good and profitable return, but you know the risks and you do kind of like have a calculated risk approach, then this is definitely something that people should consider. So I want to first of all say thank you, Ruan, for joining me today. I am going to put all the details of the Stock Market College in my post so that people can go and have a look at the courses you are offering, at exactly what you are doing, and how you can educate yourself more about Forex and try it out. Like Ruan said, it doesn't require a lot of money. You can start from wherever you are, but the most important part is just by starting, take action. And yes, so thanks, Ruan, and I'm looking forward to spending time with you again on the next Ronel Talks Money show.
Ronel, thank you so much for having me. It was absolutely a pleasure. I hope that it helps people out there. And you've been wonderful. Thank you for all your questions and for getting the awareness out there and answering people's questions.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Wonderful.